Since the 2016 channel revival, we have done an annual list of the movies we watched, and
from best to worst.
We always rank them best to worst, because it's funnier that way. We have more to say about the shit at the end of the list, typically. The start and the end, usually. There's a lot of shit in the middle no one cares about. No one's ever going to watch. So, without further ado, Aiden, what was our top movie
It's
in 2023? 8th Annual Drunk View Extravaganza, my boys and girls.
The number one movie of the year? It's Godzilla -1, of course it is. We're huge Godzilla fans. It's some peak Godzilla here. Some more peak Godzilla. We've been eating good lately.
Yeah.
We got Shin a couple years ago. We got -1 this year.
We haven't really been eating good until this year. It's been a minute.
We got the Kong Skull Island video game.
Yeah, this Kong Skull Island video game. We got... I think Gamera got put in one of the mobile games this year for Godzilla.
That's true. And also...
I don't play mobile games.
There's a game called Kaiju Bash, which is like a revival of Destroy All Monsters, and it got Godzilla and Ultraman DLC this year.
That's sick. How do we not own that yet?
I own it on Epic Games because it was free, but...
We should own it on something we'll actually play it on, bro. How many times have we booted up Epic? Whatever. Godzilla -1.
I need to get a better PC, but anyway. Yeah, it's fantastic. We're huge Godzilla fans. Its ranking is pretty much as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, like, there were a lot of really solid movies this year, but, I mean, it gets bonus points for being a Godzilla movie, for sure, but it's also actually, in terms of, like, genuine storytelling and stuff, probably one of the best Godzillas in a series which has a lot of fantastic movies and a lot of dog shit and a lot of middling shit. It's a series that has not missed a it's run the gambit from amazing god tier to Roland Emmerich, and it's definitely made my top 5 Godzillas.
Yep,
it's dope. But speaking of pretty dope, The Holdovers is next. A solid holiday season movie that came out at the start of the holidays. It's just a really cute and fun movie. It has some really intense and sad parts, but for the most part, fantastic performances from everybody involved.
I don't like Christmas movies, but if I had to choose one to be a tradition.
Yeah. On top of that, it has a retro style that actually looks good. And
I can't believe this movie is shot on digital.
Yeah, traditionally, digital movies made to be shot to look like they're on film, look like horrible filters. But you got Alexander Payne who did it, and he's been making one movie every 10 years for the past 30 years. And
lots of impressive on-location shooting, too.
Yeah. And for a period piece, it's not... it's not a huge, like, large-scale period piece, but he does a good job making it feel the period, and sometimes you forget that you're watching a brand new movie. So it's pretty sweet. It's a good movie.
Number 3 is Killers of the Flower Moon. It's... Scorsese's still doing it.
Yeah, man.
It's miserable and sad and weird and sometimes fun and interesting. It's gripping, and it's he's still doing it. He's like 90, and he's still fucking doing it. It's beautiful. I don't got much else to say.
All right, next up, this is gonna be the only well-reviewed Marvel movie in a long time from us, and
for the
foreseeable future. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I mean, James Gunn, he's just a really good filmmaker, man.
Yep.
Peacemaker and Suicide Squad were amazing. Arguably better than Guardians 3, but all 3 are really good. I mean, the Quentin Tarantino's house editor, since his original editor died after Inglourious Basterds, has been this guy. And he only edits for Quentin Tarantino and James Gunn. So if you like Quentin Tarantino movies, it's got a similar punchy feel It seemed like Marvel let him do whatever he wanted, and he just had fun and made a really solid comic book movie. And I'm a comic book nerd, so...
And a very nice send-off to the trilogy.
And a good send-off. It was a solid... I mean, I thought 2 was middling.
Yeah.
But 1 and 3 were fantastic. And, yeah, it was a good send-off to the trilogy. It was pretty good.
Number 5, we got The Creator. It's Gareth Edwards. Not Gareth Edwards.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards.
Oh, yeah, just Gareth Edwards.
The man who made Godzilla.
It's Gareth Edwards, not Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of Blade Runner in there. It's got a very sweet little story, kind of another father-daughter, post-apocalypse story. But
I mean, it's got Star Wars inspiration, and the marketing was made to feel a lot more like Star Wars than the actual movie.
Yeah, it's much more of an intelligent sci-fi movie than Star Wars typically is.
I mean, you got a Star Wars director to direct a sci-fi movie with robots, so you're gonna. Yeah. If I was Fox Searchlight and I wanted to make a lot of money, or I don't know if this is. I don't think this was Fox.
You'd be very hard pressed to say that this didn't, at some point, get conceptualized as a potential Star Wars spin-off.
Yeah, they were trying to get him to do that, and he's like, no. They're like, come on, just have Darth Vader show in the last 5 minutes.
But yeah. It's fucking gorgeous. Some nice... It's got good action, but it's also not entirely focused on its action. It's good.
Yeah. No, for sure. Next up is John Wick Chapter 4. I always think I should hate these John Wick movies because fundamentally, and I've had this rant like 10 times on my channel, so I won't get into it. John Wick would have been a perfect movie to just make in 2014 and never do anything again with, and just not make it a franchise. And once in a while I'd look at my Blu-ray shelf and say, oh yeah, that was the thing in 2014 that was kind of cool. Pull it out every few years. But instead it's become a mega franchise in Hollywood, and that means technically it should probably be kind of shitty, but they keep doing it, man. They keep making good shit.
The action.
2 and 3 were
incredible.
significantly worse than 4. 1 and 4 are the best. Mostly because 1 is reinvented the action genre again, and Keanu Reeves was just kicking ass and having fun, and it was a decent little low stakes story. Then they added all the lore with 2 and 3, and this one had a lot of lore too, but it was kind of back. They kind of put the lore back to the background where it belongs.
Yeah.
Because the first one had a lot of lore, but it was like totally unexplained lore. It's like, yeah, we just pay with gold tokens, sure.
Yep.
And this movie's like, yeah, you can get in a duel and it'll like free you from your debt or whatever, and it's the only way to resolve this plot.
You have to play like tarot cards to determine the nature of the duel and all this.
Yeah, like it's stupid bullshit for real, but it's stupid unexplained bullshit. It's cheesy, but it's awesome,
and the action is
the action is some of the most incredible action in an action film. So I mean, I'm an action guy, so I had to put it up there a bit, but I mean it's solid.
Number 7, Shin Kamen Rider. Shin Kamen Rider, if you're picky. Yeah. Hideki Anno, Shin Trilogy, his follow-up to Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
Well,
this is his follow-up because Ultraman was made by a different guy. Like he was producing and
co-writing, and he was heavily involved. But yeah.
Yes, so they could do them back to back, so it wasn't going to take 6 years per movie.
But yeah, Shin Kamen Rider has some very fun action. It's definitely very tokusatsu.
Yeah. A
little bit cheese, but it's a very loving tribute to the Kamen Rider franchise. Super fun. Not much to say. I mean, it is what it is. It's basically like 3 Kamen Rider episodes stitched together with extremely high production values, and it's awesome.
Next up, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Again, a movie I was skeptical about in a similar way to John Wick, and it's like, oh yeah, they did it again. The problem is, with this movie, it is just half a movie. So it might have gone up a couple of spaces had we seen the whole picture.
Yeah.
But as it stands, being...
I think I'm going to be rating part 2 a lot higher.
Being a half movie, I mean, it's going to be easier when we see part 2 to be like, okay, This is the introduction. This is part 2. And with the return of multi-part movies this year, which was a big controversy when we started the channel in 2015, the multi-part movie was getting really annoying and then went away for a number of years. But now it's back. And it's like, okay, we watched half of like 6 movies this year. This is the highest we're going to rank a half movie. Because it's hard to rank a full half of a movie. And because, I mean, you can still fuck up and suck, you know? You look at like trilogies or something, and if it's a properly done trilogy, it's three complete movies that come to a larger story. This is very much a movie that sets up a story, kind of has a little bit of resolution, but then it also sets up a big cliffhanger at the end, so we still need to see the rest of the movie. But, I mean, for what it is, it's good. And hopefully, which I imagine they will, I'll imagine they keep up the pace, and we'll know at the end of next year or 2025. I think it got delayed because of the strikes. Whatever. Yeah.
Part 9, we have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Like Spider-Man, it's half a movie. Also like Spider-Man, Tom Cruise did it again.
Tom Cruise did it the fuck again.
I've been very vocal about my love for the Mission Impossible franchise. You know what to expect at this point. Tom Cruise does stunts. He fucking jumps a motorcycle off a cliff. He jumps around on train cars. He does
sucking Haley Atwell's fat titties.
He sucks Haley Atwell's fat titties.
That's not true.
He gets in a loop in the third car chase, which is very weird but cool. Yeah. And I love that loop in the third. And
yeah, he does. He just hops in the looping car.
And yeah, I mean, it's another Mission Impossible movie. You go to see the funny Scientology man do crazy things, and he does. He does. It's still half a movie though.
Pathan. Number 10 is Pathan. It's an Indian movie. I believe it's Hindi.
It is a Hindi movie.
I can't remember for sure. We're like 90% sure it was a Hindi origin, because there's like 4 different languages. There's like Telugu and all that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a Indian movie. We watched it in Hindi. Doesn't matter. It all sounded like fucking gibberish to me. No offense to the Indian language. As I fucking hit him with I know you have like 6 languages, but no offense to the Indian language, but your language sounds like fucking gibberish. I'm just kidding. No, but Pathan was a surprisingly solid action movie, and it was really based and funny. It was like Fast and the Furious 7.
It's Indy Furious 7.
It's Indian
Furious 7.
Yeah, and this movie came out to much fanfare. I was still working at AMC at the time. This came out in like March. It was like selling out IMAX repeatedly. And it was one of those weeks where the old people would be like, "What's in the IMAX?" You'd be like, Pathan, it's in Hindu. And they're like, I'm gonna see it anyways. And then 10 minutes later, they'd be like, that movie's loud as fuck. Because they crank up the volume. It's loud, it's crazy. They're like flying helicopters around. There's always dramatic pauses. Like, they probably do this in American movies, but you're like, oh, that's fucking... Not to the same extent, but you know, they gotta do it to an extent where Tom Cruise jumps in the frame in Mission Impossible and it holds on him for a second.
Yeah.
James Bond is a very obvious example of an English language movie that does this shit. But they do it in Pathan, and I'm like, I don't know who this character is. I don't know who this person is. And he like slicks his hair back with a comb and like pulls out an AR-15. You're like, but this guy's about to fuck shit up, dude. And justice for what's his name. The review, we said it like 50 times. The villain was actually the hero. He was like a terrorist, but at the end of the day, like, you start actually agreeing with him, bro.
Oh, he was right.
He was right, bro. Free that man. I mean, I'm pretty sure he blows up at the end of the movie, but whatever.
He falls off a cliff or something.
Yeah, so that was our Indian movie.
Number 11 is Shin Ultraman. Much like Shin Kamen Rider, it's from the same creative team.
Yes.
And it's definitely a little harder to recommend. It's very seeped in Ultraman, which is a weird, very weird children's tokusatsu children's show.
It's also a lot more melodramatic. Like, you watch an Ultraman show, and it's 5 minutes of, I'm not worthy to be an Ultra Force. And they say, no, you're not. And then Ultraman comes out and beats the living shit out of a cheap costume. And then they're like, you are worthy to be an Ultra Force. And she's like, I am!
Yes.
And then it plays the music. In this, it's like, imagine one episode of Ultraman where you take the 2 fights from an Ultraman episode, shove one at the start and one at the end, and then
the rest is
melodrama.
like Ultraman contemplating human existence.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's really good. It's a lot harder to recommend than Shin Godzilla or Shin Kamen Rider. But I do love it. So
also, where Shin Godzilla's like a reinvention. They like wanted to accurately just remake the suits and shit, except like in more modern suit technology and CGI. And he's kind of weird, but he's also
it's an Ultraman episode with a budget.
It is an hour and a half tribute to the '60s Ultraman show, the original, not original, because there's Ultra Q, but Ultraman.
Number 12 is a movie Connor didn't see. It's Talk to Me. It's really good. It's a horror movie that was made by some YouTubers who I don't know the names of because I don't watch their stuff, but they make like horror short films or used to. And Talk to Me is a pretty blatant metaphor for like drug addiction, but it's really well shot and really creative, and it has like this interesting kind of world building to it where they shake the hand of this weird statue hand and it lets them be possessed by ghosts temporarily, and it spirals out of control in a really weird way, and it's fun and weird and well shot, and I don't want to say a lot more about it. Really, we didn't review it because only I saw it and I watched it on a plane like 2 months ago, but it's really fucking good, really impressive debut movie. I know that they had some YouTube short work done before, but Talk to Me, really good.
Well, that's a lot like Adam, the guy who did Shazam. He did like 2 horror movies after being a successful YouTuber, like in like 2013 or something.
Yeah.
Made 2 movies, ended up doing the Shazam movie and the shittier Shazam 2 movie. Now he's like, I'm going back to horror movies because fuck stupid ass Shazam. Which, nothing against the Shazam character, but still. Anyways, next is Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise, it's another Evil Dead sequel. The original Evil Dead reboot, I think, got like canonized or something, or it's like elsewhere in the world. I don't know if it always was. Whatever. And this movie's a little different. It's Evil Dead in an apartment instead of a cabin in the woods.
Yep.
It kind of takes what the first 2 Evil Deads did, where it's a bottle episode horror movie.
Yep.
And when I say bottle episode, I'm referring to the TV term of like, you just lock the characters in a room and it's a bit of a character study. But in this case, the bottle episode isn't a character study at all. It just leads to an hour and a half of wacky horror. Yep. It's less satisfying than the Cabin in the Woods. Like, the Evil Dead 1 and 2 are like just 2 legendary horror films.
Yeah.
And I'm that motherfucker who doesn't like Army of the Dead that much, to be honest. Well, I don't. That was mean. Army of the Dead's a pretty good movie, but not. I really love the first 2 Evil Deads. So even though I think it's significantly worse than the original 2 Evil Deads, trying to emulate that style, even in a less interesting way, and with the blessing of Sam Raimi, I might have given it a little more credit than it was worth, but it was still solid.
Got lots of gore and disgusting practical effects and a giant amalgamation monster. It's good.
All the gore looks amazing too. Yeah, good movie.
Okay, we're on to number 14, Barbie. Everyone in the world has seen Barbie. It's charming. Yeah. It's funny.
You either seen Barbie or you're a hater who hates on Barbie.
It's Margot Robbie's hot.
That's true.
It's Barbie. I don't know what to say about it.
It's fun. It's
a
really
good movie.
simple. It's like somebody did a crayon drawing, a really solid crayon drawing. You know, it's not deep. Anybody can use crayons, but Greta Gerwig did a good job coloring with the crayons. Anyways, next is our next indie horror movie, Saw X. Tobin Bell is back in the Saw franchise.
As the
You can't keep
protagonist.
a dead guy down because back in 2002, he was 20 years older than the day that he died in 2003. Now, this movie takes place right before Saw 3, when his death happens. And so it's Saw 2.5 now.
It's Saw 1.5.
Oh, Saw 1.5. Sorry. Tobin Bell has cancer, and he's promised a cure for cancer, and he falls for it. And then he's like, they like dramatically make him a good guy. Like it's basically the same shit as always.
He gives the
but
same
they changed the musical
monologues.
cues.
But with different music, he's an anti-hero instead of...
He's an anti-hero. He's literally an anti-hero. And honestly, like, he was not generous at trap times. Like, the lady who, like, cut her leg off, but, like, just missed the deadline. Like, her leg,
bone
like...
marrow wouldn't siphon out fast enough.
Yeah, the bone marrow wouldn't siphon out fast enough. And it, like, filled up to enough just after, like, I don't remember if it was, like, a shotgun or an axe or something, just fucked her up. And then Tobin Bell's, she wasn't strong enough. It's like, the fuck are you talking about? She had the shit in there. She did the challenge. Why are you so stingy with the time limits, Jigsaw? Wouldn't 5 minutes be equally as sufficient to let them pull out their bone marrow? They're going to learn the lesson just as well. So at that point, you start to question whether or not this is to change. But then he'll, like, go into a monologue after this blatant point of him, like, I'm just murdering somebody. And he'll be like, too bad, she wasn't strong enough and couldn't pass the test to learn to really appreciate her life enough for her to siphon her bone marrow quick enough. And within 60 seconds, she had to get 1 pound of bone marrow. Too bad she couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's
so
unhinged.
But like sad music plays, and then he like looks over. He's like shakes his head and like looks back all sad. It's like, what the fuck? You if you weren't so stingy, bro, 30 more seconds would have done even. But whatever, bro. Saw X, based ass movie. I love it. Next movie.
Number 16 is Oppenheimer. It's Christopher Nolan's movie that he really wanted to make about the guy who made the atomic bomb. And he thinks a lot, and the atomic bomb test is the most incredible thing you'll ever see on IMAX. And he thinks a lot, and he's sad, and it has some of Nolan's typical quirks with some awkward dialogue, but for the most part it's a little more polished than his movies typically are in that format, on that front. Gets a little long, gets a little messy, but it's pretty good, pretty interesting, pretty interesting look at Oppenheimer's life. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it, but it's good.
Alright, speaking of, in no way were we speaking of, this is completely different. Knock at the Cabin is next. M. Night Shyamalan made a secretly good movie.
On accident.
On accident.
Presumably.
Maybe. It's one of the ones M. Night Shyamalan didn't write. He based it off a book like Old. Old was pretty bad. But this movie was pretty good. It's kind of an interesting tale. It's about a gay couple, and it actually feels natural. It's not like a pandering gay couple.
Yeah.
They're just a couple who happen to be gay, and they have a daughter. And I hate to be like the guy to use pandering, but it actually, what I'm trying to say is it felt really natural. It didn't feel like they were like shoehorning it in for attention. It's like, oh, this is the story. They didn't call too much attention to it. They're just
and the only time they do is when it's
they're just two dudes who got a daughter. Yeah.
They think that Ron is trying to gaslight them about the end of the world.
Ron Weasley,
he's homophobic.
It was a hate criminal. All these people were pulled together as the Horsemen of the Apocalypse for different reasons, and the only way to stop the apocalypse is for one of them to kill another one of them. They have to do like a blood sacrifice, basically. But one of the horsemen that were selected was a guy who did a hate crime against them. So it actually works with the story really well, and M. Night Shyamalan actually like
pulls it off,
which is something like not a lot of companies do. Because even if there's like a genuine aspect to I want to tell an LGBT story, most of these companies still overdo it, where they're like, I don't know, like they'll just like cast Timothée Chalamet to get like butt fucked by an old guy, and they're like, isn't this like the LGBT experience? And they're like, I don't fucking know, dude. I'm not gay, but regardless, like. M. Night Shyamalan just wanted to make it feel really natural. He didn't bring attention to it. It was just a thing. And I thought that was really cool. Because, that's nice. But anyways, also the story was a pretty interesting story. It's just kind of a quick little bottle movie. Everybody was trying really hard. So despite the fact that it still has some of those M. Night Shyamalan, I don't know how to direct actor quirks, everybody tried hard enough that even with some awkward, clunky moments, I think it worked really well. So, anyways, next up is a movie I saw and Aiden didn't. Polite Society. This is a movie that's Bollywood inspired with a lot of Indian cast, but it was actually a Hollywood production, or at least primarily. I don't know if it was like a co-production or what. But it's kind of like a martial arts movie. It kind of brings to mind like a Shaw Brothers movie with some comedic, like teenage elements to it, and a bit of Indian culture. And it was pretty funny, but it was also kind of sweet, and there was a lot of cool stuff to it. It had some fun moments of action. The characters were really solid. Polite Society, pretty solid film.
Number 19 is Asteroid City. We've spoken about it a bit, but the Wes Anderson style, getting a little old. I walk into a Wes Anderson movie and it's exactly what I expect, and I groan, and then at the end I walk out of it and say, yeah, it was good.
Yep.
This movie is no exception. It's cute and it's good, but that doesn't change that I'm sick of the Wes Anderson
We both
style.
did a resounding, he did a Wes Anderson movie. It was pretty good. And then we walked out.
Get exactly what you're going in for. It is a Wes Anderson movie. There's a couple cute moments, but the Wes Anderson style has kind of reached a limit, and Wes Anderson, I hope, eventually tries to leave his comfort zone a little bit, because this plays it very safe. But still, it's serviceable, and it's much better than The French Connection. So,
French Dispatch.
French
Dispatch was messy. That was the first Wes Anderson where I walked in, left, and said, meh, it's mediocre. Anyways, next we have Air. It's a movie about the creation of the Air Jordan.
Yep.
Me and Aiden are weird and have way too many hobbies, and you would know that because our videos are all the fuck over the place usually. Talk about like movies and comics and anime. Aiden plays Yu-Gi-Oh! We got a bunch of toys back there. Whatever. We're fucking weird. That's fine. One hobby we never picked up on is Air Jordan shoes, or shoes in general. We're not sneakerheads. I'm aware of the community, and congratulations to you guys. Whatever, I get it. Bunch of scalpers. That's annoying. Some people just want to enjoy their hobby. Regardless, this is the origin of the Air Jordan, starring Ben Affleck. And was it directed by him or just produced? I don't remember. Something. Ben Affleck was heavily involved. And it was a decent movie. It was an interesting enough story. Kind of a Founder feel. And I watched like half of the Founder like 5 times. And I'm like, I'm not watching this shit. Where it's one part corporate propaganda, one part light controversies, or Straight Outta Compton's another example. A biopic endorsed enough by the people who
that they
can't talk too bad, but you gotta show a little flaws.
Yeah.
They didn't show Michael Jordan in a way because, I don't know if they're he's so legendary, no one can play him. There was some sort of gimmick, Michael Jordan. I thought that was kind of annoying. It's just show Michael Jordan. They're doing you gotta shoot it like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It gets a little annoying. But for the most part, the story was fine. It'd be like Ben Affleck, and then then it cuts to Matt Damon, and Matt Damon's like, Ben Affleck, we could sell the best sneakers, and then Ben Affleck he's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, "You're right, man." And what do you think, Michael? Then it cuts over, and he's like, "I think Jerry has to get out of the house. He should kill that damn mouse."
It's like Powerpuff Girls where it ends at the neck.
Yes, literally. It was so weird for a drama-ish biopic. It was so weird for a drama-ish biopic to be like, "We're gonna do the Powerpuff Girls, Tom and Jerry, the cartoon cliche, bro, the cartoon cliche." But whatever. All right, Aiden. whenever you complete your Coca-Cola filling.
Number 21 is The Blackening. I've only seen half of this movie. But,
Oh, I saw the whole thing.
I really liked what I saw. It got taken off the airplane by the time I was heading home.
Yeah.
So
You watched half of it on the way over.
I ended up missing the back half, but
It was.
it's very funny. It's surprisingly funny because you'd think like a self-aware movie where black people are in a horror movie and say the black people always die first would be super like boring and lame and cliche.
The trailers made it look a lot like that. It's also by Tim Story, who did the old Fantastic Four movies, I want to point out.
Yes. But it's surprisingly funny and clever. I really like the dorky Urkel character who everyone...
Yes.
He's like always right about everything and everyone's just like, shut up Urkel. And then they kill him because he said he voted for Trump. I didn't actually see the end of this movie, so like maybe it falls off, but I kind of expect it to keep that energy. But
it like magically does everything. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do like the black people don't vote for Trump shit, and it's not gonna be funny. They're gonna do the ghetto character, that isn't actually so street when he gets checked. They're gonna do blah 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 and all the cliches and jokes and the shit we've seen the Wayans brothers do 100 times. But it's kind of like the early goodish Wayans brothers. I was never a huge Wayans brothers fan, but like Scary Movie like 1 and 2 where you're like, it gets tedious, but you know, it's got some funny moments. But it's just like somehow Tim's Story of fucking Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer fame was like pulled through something that has actually felt kind of like intelligent commentary. Yeah. Like it was a mixture of the dumb comedy, like almost perfectly balanced with the
it's definitely,
maybe not perfectly balanced, but pretty well balanced with
it's definitely got like its Wayans brother moments where like
which is fine.
No,
as long as it's balanced really out with something that grounds the movie, because you both have your Wayans brothers moments, but unlike Scary Movie, where it's like, okay, Marlon Wayans died because a dildo got shoved up his ass and he cried or something. This is like, you know, you genuinely care a bit about the characters, but there's still some goofy shit in there. It's like half goofy. Yeah. It's like Wayans brothers meets a drama. It's like a dramatic, a semi-dramatic, semi-serious version of Scary Movie.
It's Scary Movie, but with more competent horror.
Yes.
It's fun.
Basically,
it's fun.
It's surprisingly good. Because the trailers wanted to make it look like Scary Movie 5. Like, I'm shocked Charlie Sheen wasn't smoking a blunt and banging Lindsay Lohan or whatever. I'm drinking a lot of my expensive whiskey.
You should probably.
I'm gonna put this upstairs and start going to the Bacardi. I had to put this one away. But look at expensive whiskey's good, bro. That's why it's expensive. Anyhow, next up, we got Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. It was bringing back post-American sniper flashbacks. Yep. You have movies like The Lone Survivor, Zero Dark 30. Actually, was Zero Dark 30 before? Maybe it was post Zero Dark 30, but that timeline
American Sniper
where it was like
came out pretty much together.
It was like Iraq and Afghanistan wasn't in the news enough because there wasn't as many casualties and stuff. So now it was time to make a bunch of propaganda films about how bad these Middle Eastern people are and how awesome we are.
Yeah.
It kind of had that vibe. And now we kind of moved past that because we're like, it's a little sketchy to
also basically
find these people who have like actually sketchy histories, and then like based on a true story. I think like we're supposed to like cheer when Chris Kyle like blows a little child's head off because it's the only way to save an American soldier.
Yeah, it basically subverts a lot of that because the back half of the movie is like a rescue mission to help
it's not nearly as dumb and patriotic. It's a lot more humanizing for the actual other side. Don't get me wrong, there's hoo-ha America moments in the movie, but
largely it's about the friendship between Jake Gyllenhaal and he had like a informant interpreter.
It's something they could have never done in 2013, where a white man and a Muslim were held hand in hand and were good friends because in
Yeah.
2013 we're secretly still very Islamophobic. Anyhow, I don't, whatever. But anyways, the next
Anyway.
movie is
We're bumping into the mediocrity barrier.
this one's kind of falls between.
20
The next couple kind of fall between me.
Number 23, we're falling in. Well, maybe not the mediocrity barrier.
I
but
think
the
there's
okay
a
barrier.
part where it 100% hits mediocrity.
Number 23 is The Flash.
Mixed bag territory.
Yeah, we're in the mixed bag territory. The Flash ends really bad and stupid, but the first and the opening scene is really also bad and stupid. But there's some element of the Flash that kind of works for us.
The part
And
where it
that's
forgets
an
it's a
unpopular
superhero
opinion, but-
movie is pretty good.
It's a goofy little time travel movie, and it's cute, and I like seeing Michael Keaton. And
He has,
there's some fun parts, and there's some parts that are really retarded. But the Flash movie is okay, and also Ezra Miller's a creepy rapist who child molester,
and he beat up a lot of women
and he beats
people.
women in
but,
public for some reason. But regardless,
Yeah.
it was okay.
I would want to hate the Flash more than I did. I was kind of disappointed that besides the kind of stupid parts sprinkled throughout the movie, there were parts where I was getting into the story and having a decent time. It's a mixed bag, but I cautiously enjoy it. Renfield, similar situation, a cautious enjoyment. Surprisingly, Nicolas Cage and Aquafina are the best part. Nicholas Hoult was pretty good too, but the story, they are all trying very hard for a story that wasn't given the budget or the time. Occasionally it wants to be a dumb action movie, occasionally it wants to be very referential and love the old Universal
Sometimes it wants
monsters
to be
and
a
public
slapstick
domain.
comedy.
Sometimes it wants to be a slapstick comedy, sometimes it wants to be an action film. And then there's the deeper message of abuse and stuff, which
It's very
is
much-
kind of mixed bag for me based on how they handled the rest of the movie. So it is the king of the mixed bag with Aquafina, Nicolas Cage, and Nicholas Hoult all trying very hard for a movie that probably they deserved a little bit better if they were going to put all that effort in there.
Number 25 is Scream 6. The Scream franchise has kind of burnt itself out. The meta commentary is kind of collapsing in on
Yeah.
itself and having to be meta about past meta commentary. I think, Wednesday Addams does pretty good, and it's like fine enough, and yeah, it's fine.
Okay, next off we got Missing. Missing was an early year movie, and it felt like an early year movie. January, February traditionally is a bunch of bullshit, and this movie tries its hand pretty well at being a January, February movie. I mean, it's not the
It's one of those Screen Life movies.
It's a Screen Life movie, but I mean it's done pretty well. I get somewhat engaged in the plot, and I had some fun watching it, and it's somewhat interesting. It has cringy moments, but it's definitely designed to keep a teenage demographic busy during the winter, and something for teenagers to do the classic movie theater blowjobs without getting caught by their parents.
Yeah.
And for a movie theater blowjob movie, the old Batman special as I call it, it's pretty good.
Number 27 is Inside. It's definitely like someone saw The Lighthouse and said Willem Dafoe is really good at acting crazy and weird when he's alone. The movie is Willem Dafoe gets locked in a rich guy's apartment for like 3 months, and he goes kind of crazy. and it's definitely not as well made as Lighthouse. Willem Dafoe does his hardest to carry it, but it does kind of drag a little in the middle because he has no one to play off of because he's literally alone. It gets a little long. It gets a little drawn out, but I think Willem Dafoe is a really strong performer even under weird circumstances, and he really does kind of carry the movie.
Yeah.
And it turns out okay.
Yeah, it was one of those movies where they had like 7 production studios working on it. Like some Chinese funding for some wannabe A24. Not that that's a bad thing. They were able to get like the core cast, by the core cast meaning
The core
William
cast of
Dafoe,
literally one person.
of William Dafoe. And you know, they made it look like an A24 movie. It really wanted to be an A24 movie. And it was okay, but it didn't quite make the grade. Did we even watch any fucking A24 movies this year?
I don't think so.
Usually we have like 2 or 3 sneak onto the list. We're not like the A24 diehards, but anyways, next is the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Speaking of A24, Anya Taylor-Joy is Princess Peach. That was my save. That was my turnaround. I was like, how the fuck am I speaking of A24? Yes, Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. Chris Pratt as Mario. Charlie Day is Luigi.
Seth Rogen.
Rogen is Donkey Kong.
Fred Armisen is Cranky.
Jack Black is Bowser. And with such a cast, you're like, that is the most generic. Some guy on fucking Twitter is like, here's my dream Mario
Chris
cast.
Pratt is Mario.
Where you actually think about it and you're like, that's really fucking stupid. But it seems like some fan cast bullshit. Yeah. And considering it was some fan cast bullshit, it was okay.
Chris Pratt
it looked
fucking horrible.
Illumination surprisingly did a really good job of animating Nintendo.
Yep.
Well, Nintendo's vibe.
Chris Pratt's fucking horrible, but
and they threw in all sorts of fucking
Chris Pratt's
references.
Fucking horrible. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad is extremely horrible, even worse than Chris Pratt. But Jack Black and Charlie Day are both really good.
Yeah, and there was some fun moments. Overall, it was fine. I think the next couple are the fine threshold, and then number 31 is where it starts to turn to kind of bad.
Number 29 is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Yes.
It's very much a movie that wants to be Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a fun, lighthearted action-adventure movie. I think people were a little too hard on it, but it's not great. Chris Pine is very charming, and everyone else is there. And it has some fun action-adventure movie moments like Pirates of the Caribbean. It's definitely not on the level of like Curse of the Black Pearl, but it's a pretty decent, okay action-adventure movie. Yep.
Yes, sir. Next is Creed 3. Dungeons & Dragons and Creed 3 are 2 movies Aiden lifted up a bit in the list. I'll be honest.
That's true.
Creed 3, for me, it was a decent drama. It didn't have that rocky anchor, which disappointed me. And the fight scenes were kind of anime inspired, which is a little meh. But I gotta admit, they got J. Cole to do the soundtrack.
Yep.
And J. Cole had a lot of cool stuff. And if there's one thing I got from Creed 3, it's not another classic installment of the Rocky franchise. It's not one of the final movies, one of the first and final movies from Jonathan Majors. But
Creed 3.
But J. Cole did a remix of Dr. Dre's The Watcher for Creed 3 for some reason. A song that's that's a
Because
little.
Michael B. Jordan directed and had enough money to say you can do whatever you want, J. Cole.
J. Cole was like, I had this idea to do a Watcher remix. So the movie opens on Dr. Dre's The Watcher, which is a banging song from Dr. Dre's 2001.
Yep.
Which I gotta say, Dr. Dre's 2001, top 10 rap albums for me. Probably the other 9 are Kanye. But Chronic 2001, dope album. J. Cole's remix of The Watcher, It's okay. But it was the best part of Creed 3.
Yeah, Creed 3. The drama is kind of weird in Creed 3 because Creed is at the top, and he's just like kind of an asshole to Jonathan Majors, and Jonathan Majors is also an asshole.
Right.
And you don't really want to see either one win, and Creed isn't the underdog.
Well, wait a minute, because Creed's an asshole, and he's like, and then Jonathan Majors says, Creed's being a kind of a dick right now. So then he starts like assaulting people to the point of near death.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because why not?
Yeah, Creed 1 is like the best boxing movie ever made, though. Anyway.
Yeah.
31 is Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre. It's Guy Ritchie. It's a very safe Guy Ritchie movie. The last couple of years, I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan. I know, like, he's not the most popular.
He's inconsistent. He'll make a baller fucking movie. His last two before this, Wrath of Man and the Gentleman, we both reviewed quite well in 2020 and 2022, I believe.
This one feels
or 2021, 2022?
This one feels very safe and studio. It's basically like a Jason Statham action movie, but it's kind of...
It feels direct to DVD.
It feels very like generic and safe and a little bit cheap.
Can we bring up a movie that it happens to be pretty much identical to that was a lot better? Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Oh,
it's the same movie, but without Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, no, it's
a direct. It feels like a direct-to-video ripoff of Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yes, but with
the plot, it just happens to be the same. But they came out so close together. I doubt that this was like Guy Ritchie's take on it. It genuinely feels like
a bad.
They just both happened to make a very specific. I think I would like it quite a bit better if it wasn't for Unbearable Weight, which I don't think Unbearable Weight's like the best movie ever, but I liked Unbearable Weight a bit better, and it makes Operation Fortune for me a little bit irrelevant.
Yeah, it's a very middling movie. It does occasionally have some Guy Ritchie isms, but it kind of lands in a very mediocre-ish spot.
Next off, I think this might have been the first movie we watched this year.
Yes.
Megan.
M3
Gan. Kind of a modernization of Child's Play. The problem is, due to it coming out in January, they wanted to cut it down a bit to be PG-13, so it was more accessible, so it could cover the box office better. So it was a compromise film when it came to theaters, and I said, a PG-13 horror movie, that doesn't bear well when I sat in the theaters. And then you watch it, and it's like they get ready for the kill, and you might hear a scream as it cuts to black, and you say, this is a movie they compromised to sell better.
And then 3 weeks
And then 3 months later, when the DVD comes out, I don't even think you can buy I don't think I've seen the standard edition. It might be on the disc, but every disc I've seen for this is the unrated version, which I believe, and I guess we won't cut it in because we're fucking lazy when it comes to anything in this drunk view format, but I believe we totally fucking called that in our video, then that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, we did.
Because I was like, this movie's gonna have an unrated cut when it comes. They cut it down and they gave us a cheap product in theaters. I never saw the unrated version. I'm sure if it was the unrated version, I'm sure it'd be up a few spots in the list because the movie was a pretty decent reimagining of Child's Play, but they kind of fucked it up by screwing it up in theaters. So it is what it is.
Number 33 is Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Not only is it half a movie, but it's half of a Zack Snyder movie.
And it's half Star Wars and half Seven Samurai.
Yep. And half of some other shit, too.
It's half of a lot of garbage.
It's a lot of stuff smashed together. But it's not the worst I've ever seen Zack Snyder do. There's a lot of lore and setup. Nothing gets paid off. It's just introducing most of our main cast. And maybe with the payoff, it'll be better in retrospect, but I kind of doubt it because it's still kind of mediocre. But yeah, it's I wish I had more to say about it because it's a Zack Snyder movie, but I kind of don't.
Well, the thing is, Zack Snyder made a 4-hour movie, and Netflix said, "What if we cut this into 2 parts? Instead of Snyder cutting it, where we drop it in one, we'll cut it into 2 parts." I thought it was 3 parts in the original review. It's 2 parts. So let's cut it into 2 parts, and then we'll also release an unrated director's cut and blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. It's edgy Star Wars with some Seven Samurai influence. It's far from the worst Zack Snyder movie. Probably his best movie since Man of Steel. But it's still, maybe it'll be better in retrospect with part 2, or it'll be worse in retrospect. We'll see. It's half a movie. A Haunting in Venice. This is the 3rd of the Murder on the Orient Express Agatha Christie series.
Starring the guy who directed Thor.
Yes, and starring him as well? No.
Yes, it stars and is directed by...
Yeah, this is a vanity movie. He's made a vanity
trilogy.
Somehow Kenneth Branagh created a vanity trilogy of Agatha Christie novels where he's the main character. And they're all shot very well.
Yep.
They're all very boring and fail to translate the movie in any sort of interesting way.
Number 35 is Legion of Superheroes. This is one of the 8 DC animated universe movies that gets released a year. This one is about Superwoman, and Supergirl befriends...
Supergirl gets sent by Superman to the future to meet his buddies, the Legion of Superhero. So as Superboy, he knew as a kid, and for some reason she time travels to meet the second generation.
She befriends Brainiac's grandson is there.
Great.
And everyone's racist against him. They're like, "You're Brainiac, you're an evil man." And he's like, "I'm not evil, I'm a nice guy." And everyone's like, "No, fuck you." And then Supergirl's like, "Oh no, Brainiac actually is a nice guy." And it's a DC animated universe movie. So it's definitely watchable. The art style in these movies has improved a lot over the last couple of years. It's not terrible.
Yeah, and the Tomorrowverse has great art. It's ending with the 3-part Crisis on Infinite Earths. They established all this shit, and then James Gunn took over and wanted to make it so everything was connected. And essentially, the Tomorrowverse people said, "Well, we're going to make this big universe. If you're not going to let us do it, fine, we'll leave. But we want to make a 3-part Crisis on Infinite Earths to end it with a bang. And like the 10-movie universe with a bang." And they're allowing him to do that. So this year we'll be reviewing all 3 parts of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Because I love these DC animated movies because they're such a mixed bag between good and total shit. And it's always interesting. And this year, it was all total shit. Mostly. But whatever. Alright, next we got Magic Mike's Last Dance. This movie is the ultimate Magic Mike movie. And I'll say that because Salma Hayek...
The Avengers of Magic Mike.
Not really. What I mean is, Salma Hayek is like a really hot lady, and she's like 50 or 60 or some shit. She's old
as fuck now.
And the primary audience is probably people who are like 10 or 15 years older than 40-year-old Channing Tatum. So, with Salma Hayek, the old ladies who watch Magic Mike primarily, or the ladies in general, can insert themselves into the Salma Hayek character and pretend they are have this hunky, MILF. They have a sexy MILF, but not creepy levels of sexy because Channing Tatum is like 40, but she's like 50, so it's like appropriate. It's classy, but not weird. But also,
Also, they're showing the aspect ratio is really fucked up.
Yes, and that was my fault because I had the the projector was set to 3D mode. I meant to click. I hit flat instead of scope. It was my fault, but I was like, it's fucking Magic Mike. I'm not gonna run back to the booth to change it to the correct aspect ratio. So after close, we started the movie. It didn't look very good.
It happens.
It's kind of. I mean, it's like it's cool. It's a bunch of like strippers dancing around, male strippers. So
this one's definitely not as fun as the other.
Surprisingly, like you kind of get into the story, and they do some impressive shit. So I bet you if I was like a a gay dude or a chick, I'd be super into it. And I'm not saying that explicitly to like protect my manhood. I'm just saying like it's impressive, and you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was fun.
Number
But
30.
it's not my thing.
Number 37 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
There are some good qualities to this movie.
It looks really good, except April O'Neil.
It looks... The art style's interesting. I wouldn't call it good. It's intentionally very ugly and weird, and April O'Neil looks like a scary goblin creature, and it's off-putting. She's very fat and short, and she looks weird. She looks like a living Garbage Patch doll. But I like Ice Cube, and I like...
he's crazy as fuck.
I like some of the other supporting characters. They had the Ninja Turtles actually voiced by teenagers, which is an idea. I think the movie's a little annoying, but it has some decent action, decent moments, and
getting
Ice Cube is fun.
unknown or little known teenagers is a step up. Because, you know, the initial concept was, what if we had Tom Holland, Timothy Chalamet,
Seth Rogen,
and Chris Pratt? What if we had Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and Tom Holland play the Ninja Turtles? That was the original concept.
I think it's very funny that they made this movie PG-13 so that Ice Cube could swear. Cause,
yes, dude.
A lot of the dialogue in this movie was supposedly ad-libbed, both for the Ninja Turtles and the villains. And, like, Ice Cube will just pop out, like, shit and damn occasionally.
Bitch-ass motherfucker. I love Ice Cube, dude.
It's very funny.
I don't love Ice Cube's music. Funny, severely overrated rapper past his NWA days. He's got a couple hits solo.
Yeah.
You know, payback's a motherfucking... That's why I'm sick of being treated like a goddamn stepchild.
It's it's kind of ugly and weird looking, but sometimes in a cool way and sometimes in not a cool way. And it's okay.
But they're the boys. It was the first Jackie Chan.
Also, I'm not all that connected.
It was also the first Jackie Chan and John Cena collaboration of the year.
That's true. The first. We'll get to
we
the second.
review both. Don't worry, boys and girls. And they came out in the same week. Jackie Chan and John Cena, the new Hollywood duo, for some reason. Probably by sheer coincidence, because Ninja Turtles seemingly said, Seth Rogen said, I like Jackie Chan, we're getting Jackie Chan. I like John Cena, we're getting John Cena. I like Ice Cube. He's in the movie too. Anyways, next we got Blue Beetle. Spider-Man Homecoming, Iron Man, and like almost like a bit of Black Panther, because I think the city's like they made up some like futuristic like Mexican city that is like it's kind of it's not really Wakanda. It's kind of like a dystopian Wakanda because it's owned by Cord Industries, which was taken over by Ted Kord's mom. The thing, I love a lot of shit about this movie, but the story and shit actually sucks. And I'll get a lot more into it when I get there for my DC retrospective. But here's the point. Dan Garrett was the original Blue Beetle. He found the Scarab and he was able to connect to the Scarab and had Blue Beetle powers. But he wasn't able to connect to it as much as Jaime, who gets a full Iron Man suit. In the middle, Ted Kord was able to use the technology and harness it. And that's how he got the future technology. And in this universe, he made a whole Mexican city out of it. But then it became a dystopia where all the Mexican people were put in the ghetto. And then George Lopez is there. And then he's like Iron Man and Spider-Man in one. So anyways, I like, it's fine. It kind of sucked, but it was meh. Anyways.
Number 39 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It's an Indiana Jones movie where Indiana Jones is old and sad.
Yeah.
And he cries and Mutt dies in Vietnam off screen.
Yeah.
And he's sad and he befriends the woman. And it's weird and there's a lot of CGI. And then it goes full retard at the end because they travel back in time and shoot Roman people with machine guns. And then Aristotle is like, Indiana Jones, you need to go back to the future to reunite with Marion after Mutt died in Vietnam. It's weird and it's messy and it's occasionally kind of fun but mostly it kind of sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Next off, Thanksgiving. They made an Indiana Jones 5 and no one remembers that shit. Next off is Thanksgiving. Mixed bag for me, honestly. Eli Roth finally made his movie that was teased mostly as just a meme. It wasn't really supposed to be a movie. But he made a fake trailer for it as part of the Death Proof Planet Terror Grindhouse wave that Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino were making. As you may or may not know, depending how much you know, Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, their good friend and third buddy in the group is Hostel creator Eli Roth, who decided to he made a trailer for that. He made a lot of shit over the years. And finally, he came back and he did Thanksgiving, which is essentially another one of those holiday slasher movies that were so popular. For some reason, movie studios thought in the wake of Halloween, a movie that perfectly made sense for a slasher time period. I think the popular part isn't that this cool slasher, it's that there's a slasher on a holiday.
Yep.
But they already took Halloween, so they did all the fucking holidays, Silent Night, Deadly Night, for example.
Yep.
And Eli Roth kind of calls back to that with Thanksgiving, which is sort of a tongue-in-cheek reimagining of like a Halloween type thing. But they definitely do more than just slasher. Like he's using guns, he's fucking cooking people in ovens, he's doing crazy shit.
The opening is incredible.
The opening with the Black Friday is really good. Like it's really solid.
If this movie carried that energy through the whole thing, it would be incredible.
It tries to carry the energy. The problem is you don't care about the characters. At some points it's supposed to be a drama. At some points it's supposed to be a slasher. At some points it's supposed to be a comedy. But it doesn't commit strongly to one tone or another. And unfortunately, it's not 100% there. But it was solid.
We're getting into the bad.
Yeah.
Now.
No.
Well.
80 for Brady.
We haven't switched over, but 81 is 80 for Brady. It's a movie about 3 women who go on a road trip to see Tom Brady play.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football except that Tom Brady is a closeted homosexual.
Yeah, he fucked fellow YouTuber Jeffree Star.
He fucks Jeffree Star.
Fellow YouTuber
Jeffree Star. And he dates a bunch of hot model women as beards, but he's gay. And he allegedly...
This is totally made up. We're going to lose every New England subscriber.
He allegedly, like every time he walks into the locker room, he sends all his teammates like pictures of his wiener, and he's like, "What do you think of this? Haha. LOL, just kidding. LOL, haha."
He didn't have to get a formal education or anything good. They're like, this guy's a fucking stallion, the Michael B. Jordan of football, so it's totally fine that he's a fucking weirdo.
This movie's like the...
Not that it's weird for him to be fucking Jeffree Star or whatever, but...
This movie's like the Avengers. This movie's like the Avengers of 60-year-old women.
Sally Field,
the flying nun herself, and the other 2.
not Frodo, Sam's mom. That's Sally Field.
Yep.
Anyways, let's move on. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Ugh. Disappointing. The first Shazam is meh. Upper meh.
I like the first one. It's cute.
It's cute, but it's nothing special. It's kind of like the first Deadpool, but kind of like what if we made like a cute, but it's a normal, your average superhero movie with a cute filter rather than a really memey, annoying Rick and Morty filter.
The first movie has some fun gags, like when he gets the store robber to shoot him and other stuff, and when I'm not shitting.
This movie sucks. That's the point. Shazam! Fury of the Gods was very disappointing because I was like, this whole year I thought Flash would be the worst. I thought Blue Beetle would be meh, and I thought Shazam would be the saving grace. I was wrong. Shazam was the worst. Blue Beetle still landed in the meh spot, and Flash was the best movie of the DCEU. I don't know, man. It's like, it's boring.
It's annoying.
It feels like they wanted to up the memes Everybody in the first movie was kind of the perfect age. Now it's the awkward. They're adult characters and very clearly adults now because you waited 4 years when they were like 14.
And they still act like
the two
14.
main characters were 14 when they filmed the first movie. And they waited 4 years, so now they're like 18 when they filmed this movie.
But they're still acting
But
like
they
children.
still have to act like children because that's the character that was established, and Warner Brothers wants that. What they should have done is they should have made a first Shazam. They should have immediately started Shazam 2 and then called it quits. Because the problem with the Shazam concept is in the comics, Billy Bats never has to grow up. Doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter in the comics. Age is very subjective. So is life and death. In real life, you don't got 4 years to wait to make a sequel about a bunch of kids. So Billy is 18 acting like he's 14. And they didn't really... They wrote the movie as if the characters were the same age as they were 4 years ago. There has to be a dynamic shift with the characters. They have to be significantly different because 14-year-olds are very different from an 18-year-old.
They're fucking retarded.
But they act the same, and how they act... Not even the same. They got dumbed down.
Yeah. I like how
it sucks.
The little
I
girl
feel bad.
from the little girl from the first movie was like 8 in the first one, the little black girl. And in this movie, she's like clearly like 14, and she's still acting like a fucking 7-year-old. And it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, dog. Anyway, number 43 is the Haunted Mansion. I don't have a lot to say about this one. I
slept through half this shit.
It's a pretty generic Disney product. I think. Like, Danny DeVito has a couple funny moments. Pretty much the best moment in this is the one where they do the sketch at the police station. And that's in the trailer. And a good majority of this movie is, like, really kind of lame and safe and boring. And there's pretty much nothing to say about Haunted Mansion 2023.
Yep. Next we have House Party. It is a remake of like the 1993 movie House Party, which I've never seen. It's one of those kind of it was in that same production realm as like Poetic Justice and Boys in the Hood, where certain studios were making in the early 90s. They're making black people movies. They're trying to appeal. And this was kind of a golden age for that type of movie because there's a lot of genuinely really good movies. In terms of the dramas, I mean, Dead Poets.
Dead Poets is really
Dead Poets is really good. Boys in the Hood is pretty decent, mostly iconic for
Friday.
Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ice Cube. Friday, that type of thing. So the director this year had recreated 2 of those movies. They redid White Men Don't Jump, starring Jack Harlow, a Hulu original, because they said this shit is so garbage. Even in February, we're not putting this crap in theaters. But the one that did make it to theaters was this movie House Party, and it was 2 forgettable characters. It was produced by LeBron. LeBron shows up a few times, like probably for a total of 6 minutes of screen time.
Kid Cudi is a major character.
Kid Cudi is a major character. Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz show up. Big Sean is there.
Yeah.
I would imagine basketball stars and stuff.
People.
I know a lot of hip hop. So I recognized a lot of them, and I would imagine there were a lot of other stars. But I was like, oh, Big Sean is gonna sing "I Don't Fuck With You Now," and Lil Wayne is gonna do a Milli.
And Kid Cudi's
gonna join the Illuminati
and die.
There was a bunch of I think Lil Wayne might have been in it too. But anyways, it was it was kind of it was just sort of a weak comedy.
I don't think we were the target audience.
I don't think anybody was. LeBron called a favor from a bunch of his pals to show up in his really garbage movie. There's probably some people who get a kick out of it. The cameos were occasionally fun, but it was mostly shit.
Number 45 is Retribution. Retribution is a special case. Retribution, objectively, is like a 2 out of 10 movie. It's fucking horrendous.
2 out of 10 is generous.
And is also fucking hilarious.
Kino.
Liam Neeson is a guy who he makes someone mad and they put a bomb in his car and they say you have to drive around and do stuff for me, and his kids are in the car. And it's a Liam Neeson movie, so Liam Neeson fucking hams it up. And it just has so many weird moments. Like, it's fucking terrible, but it's terrible in all of the good ways. Like, when the main villain is revealed at the end, the main villain says, if Cinderella's glass slipper was so perfect, then why did it fall off? And Liam Neeson is like, what the fuck do you mean by that? And it's supposed to be deep, but Liam Neeson doesn't know what he means by that. I don't know what he means by that.
No one knows.
It genuinely does not make sense. When
Nobody
he says
knows what it
he
means.
says it, and it's supposed to be deep, but you're just like, that has nothing to do with anything that's going on.
This is a proper drunk video.
It's a proper... It's proper just absolute trash Kino. It's Liam Neeson at his best and his worst. He seems consistently drunk. It's hilariously incompetent, hilariously awkward.
Ironically, Liam Neeson's on the phone in a lot of this movie, and he really phones in his performance.
Yeah, it's...
unironic. Everybody's phoning in their performance, because everybody but Liam Neeson and his kids are calling on the phone, and Liam Neeson is phoning in his performance metaphorically.
Retribution is one of the shittiest movies of the year, objectively, but it is some peak trash Kino. It is
Buddy Curtis?
Just perfectly stupid.
Curtis.
And even though it's ranked all the way down here because it's objectively bad, it's fun. It's really fucking fun.
Curtis, you're a video star now.
Anyway.
Next up is Justice League War World.
Yeah.
The Justice League Trinity are trapped in different time periods and meet characters like Jonah Hex. And it was really boring. It shouldn't be boring. The Tomorrowverse had a lot of really good shit to it. But this year, the DC animated universe was really striking out. Even in the main Tomorrowverse stuff, but their side projects were kind of striking out too. Justice League War World, kind of disappointing. I'm excited for Crisis coming out this year. We'll review the first part in January, but this wasn't it. But it did lead into Crisis. This was kind of like pseudo part 1.
Number 47 is Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. It's like a weird...
It's an Elseworld story.
It's an Elseworld story about like Batman in Cthulhu. He fights stuff. It's a DC animated universe movie, but like a side universe. It's mediocre. Anyway. Hey, Mr. Curtis.
Curtis is in the shit.
You're a silly man.
Alright,
You're a silly man.
next up is Fast X.
Yeah.
Another part 1. This one's kind of hidden. They don't really advertise that Fast X was gonna be a part 1, but then it kind of started to become a part 1. This is the one where Cardi B showed up. Was that Fast and Furious 9?
I don't think Cardi B's
I'm
in this
tired.
one.
Did they go to space?
This
or
is
was
the
that
one.
the last one?
That's the last one. This is John Cena.
John Cena. Jason Momoa pretends to be Heath Ledger's Joker, and
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's driving around, and he's got a black
he's got
kid
his little
through a
black
white
child.
baby mama. I don't get it. It's fucking stupid. There hasn't been a good one since Furious 7. Furious 8 was
James Wan back.
Get Juan back. Come on. If you're actually ending the series, Vin, you know who you need back. It's James motherfucking Wan. Despite the fact that, you know, we haven't seen James Wan's movie on here yet.
Number 49 is The Marvels. It's it's boring.
We're getting to oof territory.
Yeah, we're hitting the oofs.
No, fucking Fast Sex is in the oof territory. We're deep in
The
it.
Marvels is really boring. Brie Larson, even though they definitely toned down how unlikable she is still boring.
She's the most unlikable of the Marvels.
The Marvels is a sequel. You have to watch Disney Plus's Miss Marvel, which is Disney Channel original television show about a 9th grade Indian girl who gets superpowers. And we watched the first 2 episodes because Connor still worked at the theater at that time, and everyone was like, "We need to watch Miss Marvel."
Because we were watching all the Disney Plus shows.
It's literally a Disney Channel show where it's like, "I need to go to school, but I have superpowers." Yeah. And I was like, "I can't do this anymore, dog. I can't do this. This show's made for fucking 9-year-olds." But as an adult, you're expected to sit through that to understand what's going on in this crappy, mediocre ass movie.
Well, don't forget Miss Marvel and the WandaVision Secret Invasion is essential. This was the culmination of a bunch of Disney Plus shows.
And it sucks.
I didn't watch 2 of the 3 Disney Plus shows. I watched WandaVision 3 fucking years ago, and the other 2 I never watched.
I thought that the main villain in this movie was Emilia Clarke in blackface, but it just turns out to be some lady who looks
so
weird.
Emilia Clarke is a major character in Secret Invasion.
We haven't watched
So
Secret
I thought
Invasion.
they super tanned her to the point where it looked like blackface, and I'm like, this kind of unwarranted to put Emilia Clarke in blackface for this movie. Turns out, it's not Emilia Clarke in blackface. It's Tom Hiddleston's girlfriend that he said he had to be in these movies, otherwise he wouldn't do Loki season 2.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you. This unknown actress.
The movie's really boring
Tom Hiddleston's
and annoying.
girlfriend who got the role because she's a nepo fucker. I say that because she's fucking Tom Hiddleston who got her the job.
It's boring and embarrassing and annoying, and I don't like any of the characters in it, and the MCU is a sinking ship. But anyway, next.
I feel like the violinist that sat on the end or whatever. Next is Transformers Rise of Beasts. What a fucking pile of shit, dude. Who said I'd miss Michael Bay? Michael Bay made 5 terrible movies, and they're called the Transformers Saga, or 5 Quilogy.
Yep.
Whatever they call it. Transformers 4 base. Transformers 5 kind of base. Transformers 1 boring. Transformers 2 kind of based. But sucks. It's the worst one, but it's kind of based. Transformers 3, most competent of the 5, also the worst of the 5. I stand by that.
Yep.
But they're all better than Transformers Rise of Beasts, where the G.I. Joes recruit a guy who merges with Skeet fucking Davidson to become a Transformer.
Yep.
Skeet Davidson merges with the kid, and they both become one Transformer. It's fucking stupid, and they join the G.I. Joes, and we don't want a Hasbro Cinematic Universe. Please don't do it. Anyhow, next movie.
Number 51 is Napoleon. Somehow, despite the fact that Napoleon has been dead for 200 years, the English are still asshurt about it. So Ridley Scott made a movie that ignores the fact that Napoleon was one of the greatest tacticians of his time and incredibly
Pretty much
brilliant.
of all time.
And he makes
his KD is pretty impressive.
He makes a really unfunny, boring parody movie about how Napoleon was a cuck. And like, I know that was a popular 4chan meme, like Napoleon got
Ridley Scott,
girlfriend,
this 85-year-old fucking ass was like, the 4chan is right. I need to make this into a $150 million epic paid for by Apple.
Basically, this movie comes off as super butthurt that Napoleon BTFO'd the English like 18 times 200 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really present the history at all. It kind of just like makes shit up to make Napoleon look even more pathetic and cucky than he was, and ignores all the interesting parts in favor of making scenes where he gets cucked. It's really butthurt and kind of boring, and the action scenes are kind of cool, and Ridley Scott can still make a movie look nice, but it's kind of like fucking not that interesting and boring, and like maybe you should have focused on the actual history over being butthurt that the English got BTFO'd like 9 times by a fucking cock French man.
Alright, motherfuckers. Next is Exorcist Believer. We're on the bad movies, believe it or not.
Yeah, we're
believe
just
her or
bad
not.
Shit, dog.
Exorcist Believer, piece of shit movie. It had like a million themes it was trying to do, but it never picked a theme. It just was like, what if Muslims could also do exorcisms, bro?
It's a movie called The Exorcist.
What if
the Exorcist
a Hindi
says,
lady also can do The Exorcist? Christians are right,
it's a movie.
the little white girl gets pulled down to hell.
It's a movie
Because her
called
dad's
The
a white man.
Exorcist, where the Exorcist. It's a movie called The Exorcist, where the Exorcist appears in maybe 15 minutes, and he says, "I'm too scared to do the exorcism." And then he comes in and says, "I'm going to do the exorcism," and he gets his head cut off and says, "Oh, I died."
Dude, he gets like decapitated by the.
I was kind of hoping that this movie. I'm a fan of the Halloween reboot movies made by the same people, but this.
Yeah, I'm a fan of fucking 3.
The first one's good too. I mean,
I already watched the first
it's
one
a little
twice
safe,
and it
but
sucked. Alright, next is the Meg 2.
No, it's Meg.
Is it?
53 is the Meg 2.
So what's it?
Jason Statham fights a giant shark again. It's not good. It's really boring for a movie about a giant shark, and it sucks.
What do you expect?
Anyway.
Hidden Strike. Jackie Chan and John Cena the same week Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem came out, decided to make 2 movies because 1 week wasn't enough to contain all of the
Minus
Jackie Chan and
100
John
social
Cena
credit.
actions. How the fuck did I lose 100 social credits? I just said they're
Minus
epic and
200
great.
social credit.
I just said it was great. I should be up.
Tank inbound.
Check inbound. I'm getting run the fuck over, bro. Winnie the Pooh's coming out. I see Winnie the Pooh pop out of the tank. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that was a weird reference for anybody who doesn't understand. But a Hidden Strike. It's the China movie Bing Chillin'. It's shit. Alright, Aiden, next one.
Number 55 is Cocaine Bear. It tries too hard to be funny, even though it's really boring. Ray Liotta died for this movie. No one who made this movie understands what cocaine does. Because cocaine doesn't make you...
No, it does not give you the munchies.
Yeah, the little kid eats a bunch of cocaine, then he gets the munchies. Last time I did cocaine, I blew out my knee somehow. I was walking. I was at Isaiah's bachelor party, and I did a bunch of cocaine.
That was a bachelor party.
And then I dislocated my knee, and it like slid all the way up my
This video got
leg,
pretty unhinged in the
and I
last
fell on the ground, and it
hour.
really hurt. But the point is, cocaine doesn't give you the munchies. I wasn't hungry at all.
No,
I was
we were playing ping pong. None of us ate for 3 days. None of us slept.
It took me like an hour and a half to stand back up after I dislocated my knee, but after that I just got up and went back to playing beer pong and walked it off. And the next day I was laying in bed literally screaming in pain, but you know.
Yeah.
Then
Then you had to go home.
Anyway, Cocaine Bear tries too hard, doesn't understand what cocaine is, and sucks dick. Also, I dropped the...
Well, now that we've officially took Cocaine Bear apart due to its inaccuracies based around the drug of cocaine, let's talk about Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. James Wan normally makes cringe kino since his days in Saw. We just did a review on this shit. I mean, what is there to say? They cut every piece of story out of this movie and made it 90 minutes of action with credits. So next movie. We're running real low.
Number 57 is...
We might have to make a part 2 where we're miraculously sober.
Number 57 is 65. It's a movie where Adam Driver fights dinosaurs. Connor fell asleep like 8 minutes in, and then we were there with all his coworkers at the theater, and they also fell asleep, and I stayed awake for like 30 minutes, and I'm like, fuck this, and we left. So I don't actually know what happens in 65, but I know it's really fucking boring.
I didn't fall. I fell asleep for like 2 minutes, and I woke back up and then said, let's
asleep.
get the fuck out of here. I did fall asleep once or twice, but I was like, dude, how long have we been here? And you're like, a half hour. I'm like, let's get the fuck out, dude. I watched too much of that boring-ass movie, which we still only watched about a third of it. Next is Sweetwater. You would think you couldn't make a terrible movie this terrible, and they made a movie this terrible. Sweetwater is a basketball movie.
It is a basketball.
What do you mean it has our boy? Explain. Robert?
Yes, he's the racist.
Oh yeah, Aiden Gillen?
No.
Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts. I'm sure.
Why did I think Aiden Gillen was in this movie?
He's not. Eric Roberts plays the racist.
Aiden Gillen is the Eric Roberts of less prolific. Aiden Gillen's great. Eric Roberts is better. I'm sorry, Eric Roberts
plays a racist.
He plays a racist, and Eric Roberts gets to say the N-word like 7 times, and you can tell he's loving it. And then this little kid says the N-word, And his dad says, we don't say the N-word here because the black people
And he's
are
like,
just
oh, my
as good at
schoolmates
basketball.
keep calling me an N-word lover. It's like, oh god.
I'm like, the schoolmates
And
keep calling me an N-word lover, and he's like, the guys are good at basketball.
His dad is Ari from Entourage.
Ari from Entourage is like, what? They're good at basketball.
Oh, god.
And the fact that Sweetwater is good at basketball is supposed to end racism, and it feels like a Lifetime movie, and it was probably basically a Lifetime movie they put in theaters.
Number 59 is Strays. If you like movies where dogs say the fuck word, you'll love Strays. It's a movie where the dogs, there's a bunch of dogs, and they say fuck, and their mouths are moved to the lips. They have lip synced CGI mouths on the dogs, and it's really fucking weird and bad, and it's not even remotely funny. Speaking of, number 60 is a movie Connor didn't see that I watched on the airplane, but I only saw like 2/3 of it, but I feel like I have enough information to judge it. It's Mafia Mama. It's like Strays, basically, but the main character isn't a swearing dog, it's a swearing woman.
Yeah.
And she finds out that her grandpa was the ruler of the mafia and he got shot. So she becomes the head of the mafia, and the joke is that she's horny, and she'll like meet up with a different mafia boss and say, I'm really horny, do you want to have sex with me? And then he'll like choke on an egg, he'll like eat an egg, and then he'll choke. He'll like eat a raw egg, and then he'll choke on it while he's having sex with her, and then she'll start crying and say, I don't understand, and her mafia underlings come up and say, I can't believe you killed Vinny Italiano.
No way, that's the plot.
That is literally the plot.
No shot.
No, one of the scenes, she's having there's like a rival mafia
So it's
guy.
like Weeds.
There's like a rival mafia guy, and he comes in, and he's like, I need to kill this bitch because I want her territory. And he poisons the champagne, and then she is like trying to get dressed up. She's like, I've never had sex with a younger man before because I'm a 40-year-old woman. And she accidentally switches the wine cup, and he drinks the poison. And then he dies of the poison, and she says, oh my god, I can't believe I killed him. So she has sex with like 10 different mafia bosses who all die immediately? Yes. And then they're all trying to have sex with her to kill her? No, they're trying to have sex with her to kill her because they're like, you're old. All of the other mafia bosses are like hunky 20-year-olds, and she's like a 45-year-old.
Right.
And she's like, you're a sexy younger man, and I want to have sex with you because you're sexy younger man.
Okay.
And they say, I'm going to have sex with you, old lady, so that I can stab you with a knife. And then he'll like pull out the knife, and he'll die, and she's like, oh my god, I accidentally...
How many times does she fuck a guy?
Poisoned him.
This is like a recurring theme. It's kind of like a slap.
That's the whole
like
movie.
Like a Three Stooges type
It's a
thing.
Three Stooges thing where she's like about to have sex with him, and then they'll die and start like throwing up of poison. And then her mafia goons will come in and be like, I can't believe you killed him. He was the strongest gangster alive.
So it's basically like a porno without actual penetration.
Yeah.
Okay,
they'll come in and be like, you killed that guy. He's killed 100 people who attacked his territory. And then she'll be like, I just wanted to have sex with a sexy, hunky young boy. And that's the movie. And it's horrible.
Anyway, speaking of sexy young movies, let's talk about the 75-year-old Power Rangers from Mighty Morphin that returned for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once and always. Trina died in a car crash like 20 years ago. She's the Yellow Ranger, the Asian one.
Jason David Frank,
the Green Ranger, killed himself. Like, this movie was filmed before he killed himself. He didn't want to show up, but they gave him like a rest in peace. And we're like, that's kind of convenient timing. Rita Repulsa from the original Power Rangers show, which I used to watch really stoned in high school. She comes back, and she wants to fuck up the Power Rangers, but it fucking blows, dude. It's a bunch of 60-year-olds trying to make a 90s children's show. The 90s children's show kind of based when a bunch of 60-year-olds are trying to do the show again and relive their glory days. It's more sad than based.
Number 62 is Expend 4 Bulls.
Do we have a spare battery for this?
No, we just gotta go through.
Okay.
We're getting there. Number 62 is Expend 4 Bulls. It's fucking horrendous, dude. It's
Jason Statham fucks Megan Fox.
Jason
and
Statham takes over from
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone. But the problem is,
Cliff notes in.
the original Expendables was like a meeting of all these washed up 80s actors. And in Expend 4 Bulls, they couldn't afford to do that.
DTV actors showing up.
They got Sylvester Stallone didn't want to be in this, so he only appears for like 10 minutes because he fakes his death at the start.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to be in it. And Jason Statham and Megan Fox are the leads, and then like a bunch of like fucking 50 Cent is here for some reason.
50. This came out the same week I saw 50 live in concert. Keep going.
It's boring as shit. It's ugly.
Chicken corn on 50.
Like 70% of this movie takes place on a fucking boat set. And it's just fucking genuinely horrendous. I don't know what to say.
Next up, Justice League X Ruby. Something called Ruby is some sort of animated machinima show. And the show's animation style, which is made for $20 for a machinima, gets put onto a DVD with a bunch of Justice League characters in the same style, but they're all sexy 14-year-old. That could be taken out of context. 14-year-old children are the DC characters. I'm digging my hole deeper. It sucks.
Batman wants to have sex with the Ruby
Batman wants to have sex with everybody. Next!
Number 64 is Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's is a weird lore movie.
You got 2 seconds to tell the story.
Five Nights at Freddy's is a weird lore movie where Scott Cawthon, who created the games, fired Chris Columbus, who directed Home Alone, and he's
Matt Pat.
This movie is too good and normal.
Fellow YouTuber Matt Pat.
It needs to be a boring lore movie, and fellow YouTuber lore master Matt Pat shows up and he says the thing. He says it's just a theory.
It's a game theory. It's a game theory.
The whole fucking movie is just like stupid lore that I don't care about because I've never played Five Nights at Freddy's.
2023.
And instead of being like a competent movie, it's a movie that's made for Matt Pat fans, where the whole thing is just like
Diabetes.
This is a lore thing, and you should clap because they mentioned the lore thing, and the lady who sat next to me had a diabetes monitor that kept beeping through it, and every time that they made a reference to the lore, she would scream really loud, and it was horrible, and that was the movie anyway.
I fell asleep and started snoring, and the diabetes lady got mad at it, and supposedly I was asleep. I don't know. Yes. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Next movie. Winnie the Pooh hits the public domain. They made a really shitty horror movie. Similar to... it's just a very shitty horror movie. It basically felt like it looks like it would come in a 20-pack DVD box set from 2007, but they put Winnie the Pooh in there and they say, "Oh, it's Pooh Bear and he's coming to get me." And now Disney, Mickey Mouse is going into the public domain, so we're probably gonna get a Mickey Mouse 1 in 2024 review coming soon. Final movie.
Final movie is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think it's very obvious why Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania ended up here. Well, it's not nearly as incompetent as Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey literally costs like $5,000, and this costs like $500 million.
There's a few that are worse, in a way.
It's a Rick and Morty episode, extended to an hour and a half, starring Ant-Man. The whole thing is a CGI nightmare that never ends. It's way too long. It's horrible. It's not funny. The only funny element of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is that it spends its whole runtime setting up Kang, played by Jonathan Majors. And Jonathan Majors is going to prison for beating down his girlfriend, so now he's not in these movies anymore.
Yeah, he got fired.
So all that setup is in the trash. This movie...
2 TV seasons and this movie.
This movie might as well not be canon anymore.
Season-inducing movie. Speaking of, I made a 15-minute retrospective, highly edited film series video like a month after this came out because I just couldn't wait to do the Why It Sucks.
Yeah,
so watch it. This movie sucks.
Anyway,
why does it suck?
This movie is
bullshit.
Genuinely the worst thing I can imagine spending like $500 million on. Every single bit of it is incompetent. It's annoying. It wants to be Rick and Morty. Nothing about it works, and it all exists to set up a plot line in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that is not going to happen anymore because Jonathan Majors abuses women.
Hell yeah. So that was 2023. Fuck Jonathan Majors. He's an abuser. I'm glad he's out of Marvel because he sucks. There's a lot of shit this year. There's a lot of good shit too. There's a mixed bag of a year. A lot of years. There's a lot of shitty years. This movie had a lot of bullshit this year at the bottom of the list. But there were a lot of highs here. Holdovers, Godzilla, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Creator, Guardians 3. There's a lot of good shit here. So, while we complain, because that's what we do, we're fucking haters. 2023, mixed bag. There's a lot of shit that's gonna go in the trash. I'm never gonna think about it again. But there's a handful of really solid pieces here. So I had fun. Here's to 2024. The actors' strike made it so it may as well be the third year of COVID non-releases.
We're gonna see like
6 movies next year. This video, we're not gonna get rushed by our battery running low next year because the actors' strike. Which I mean I support the actors' strike, but
we're gonna see all 4 movies next year.
Rebel Moon Part 2, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 through 3. We're gonna have a lot of things to talk about next year. What the fuck? Deadpool 3.
Yeah, Deadpool 3.
The only Marvel movie next year, and DC is not releasing a movie next year. We have 1 mainstream superhero movie coming out next year. That's wild. They're fighting superhero fatigue by giving us 365 days off minus when Deadpool comes out.
By giving us like 2 120-day breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's 1 superhero movie coming out next year.
I'm excited for Spider-Man 2.
And there's some good shit coming out on TV. Creature Commandos is coming out. That's directed by James Gunn, like Peacemaker. That should be fun.
Okay, yeah. I'm excited for Peacemaker 2 whenever that happens.
Peacemaker 2, I think, is coming out 2026. I think he's doing it right after Superman Legacy.
Grant Newkirk from the channel Grant the Hierophant gave me this Kirk.
Grant the I don't make videos Hierophant gave me that hoodie.
Connor, the Dead Rising video part 3 or 2 or whatever.
We will add Grant Newkirk's Dead Rising Part 2 or 3 or whatever. He's not done with it. I know that for fucking damn sure. Hellion the movie coming next year. 2-hour long feature-length film. Newgrounds collaborators. Hellion movie. We talk so much shit, mostly in the Let's Plays about Grant. This is like the main channel video. Come on, Grant, we're goofing you. No one's ever gonna know. You guys can't snitch to Grant the Hierophant. Do not comment on Grant the Hierophant and say we're making fun of him. No, Grant's a nice guy. We collaborate with him a lot. Grant is probably on NTMA Productions more than he is on Grant the Hierophant. Because he can't fucking make a video to save his life. Come on, bro.
That's okay, but
come on, bro.
He cuts all the Let's Plays down into like 20 parts.
He does. Really. No, he cuts the Let's Plays down to 20 10-minute parts. We dump 4 Let's Plays a day. We make 5 videos a week. We're fucking machines, bro. I get off an 8-hour day of work to work on videos for 8 hours, bro. We're machines.
If you discount the videos that we appear in on Grant's channel, then Grant is on our channel more than his own.